Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. Today is November 30th, and we don't have a specific date of death for the young lady that we're commemorating today, but I think she deserves to be remembered. My researcher named her Irene so that she won't just be Jane Doe. She was a 32-year-old white woman in good health with no history of heart problems or any disorders that would make her at risk for heart problems. At 16 weeks pregnant, she underwent a safe legal abortion. Now, an abortion at 16 weeks is a multi-day procedure. So they have these little seaweed sticks called laminaria. They're, about the size of matchsticks. They put those in the cervix. They absorb moisture. They swell up to dilate. They were left in overnight, and she returned to the abortion facility. Now, then, for some reason, at 16 weeks, they did a suction curettage abortion. Now, a 16-week fetus isn't going to fit through that straw, and the bones are too strong. You cannot slurp out a 16-week fetus with a straw. Younger than about 12 weeks, you got some strong suction, pretty big straw, you can do it. 16 weeks ain't going to happen. So, needless to say, probably left quite a bit of this baby behind. And surely enough, after she was discharged from the facility, Irene started showing signs of infection. It was within 48 hours. So they prescribed her an antibiotic and she took some over-the-counter pain meds, but that didn't help. A week after her abortion, she was hospitalized. By this time, she was described as acutely ill. Racing heart, uterine tenderness, and a foul-smelling vaginal discharge, which is not to be anything surprising. And although she'd never had any heart problems before in her life, she had a diastolic blowing heart murmur. So the hospital started Irene on a course of medications and performed surgery to remove anything left behind in her uterus. And sure enough, she did have an infection in her uterus. But despite all these efforts, Irene's condition deteriorated. Within 72 hours of being admitted to the hospital, her heart murmur worsened, and blood cultures pointed to a group B streptococcal infection. On the third day of her hospitalization, she went into congestive heart failure and had to undergo cardiac surgery. Her heart was abscessed. It had pockets of infection in it. It was in such bad shape that doctors had to replace her left aortic valve. Now, after the heart surgery, Irene was hospitalized for 6 more weeks, during which she was treated for infection and for cardiac arrhythmias. And she seemed to be getting stronger, so they finally discharged her, sent her home. Seemed like this nightmare that started with the abortion was finally over. But 10 days after being discharged, she was fatigued, her ankles were swelling, and this progressed into dizziness and difficulty breathing. So she was readmitted into the hospital, where doctors found a new diastolic heart murmur, and they attempted heart catheterization followed by more corrective surgery the next day, but she died on the operating table. Now, the initial infection had caused the streptococcal endocarditis, and the doctors discovered that although cultures obtained at the time of her death were sterile, there was an abscess in her heart so severe it had eroded into the surrounding tissue. So even after the infection was completely cleared up and her aortic valve replaced, her heart had simply been too badly damaged to function properly. So this woman went through more than 2 weeks of absolute agony and desperate attempts to save her life, to absolutely no avail. And I haven't seen any sign that anybody ever sued that doctor for doing a 16-week abortion, trying to slurp that fetus out with a straw, but it was completely irresponsible.